Chumash. I'll take this also, though. That's okay. Thanks. Thanks for coming bright and early. I actually have a flight today to meet up with my wife. My wife is not here. She's at her cousin's house in Vegas. Okay, I have to go get it. Thank you. So after here, I'll go fly out. Thank you, Joey. Okay. Parashat Korach. I'm excited about this. I really love this idea. I hope it works for everyone here as well. But for me, I like it, and it hits all the pointers that I look for. I love Navi. You know, I love Navi. I'm the only man on planet Earth who loves Navi. No, Navi. I love Navi, and we're going to talk about Navi today. I love Tehillim. We're going to talk about Tehillim today, and we're going to tie it all into the Parashah. So hopefully it works out, and you all appreciate it. Parashat Korach. You know the story. This is the story every single person knows. Korach argues with Moshe. Korach is a Levi. He wants to be the Kohen. He gathers all his people. Moshe says to Hashem, I need a special miracle. Let the ground swallow up these people. Korach is swallowed up. After that, the people complain. Now you killed all these people. We have the story of the stick. Hashem tells Moshe, tell every tribal leader to bring their staff, their stick. And the Aharon stick sprouted flowers and almonds. Hashem says, take that stick and put it in the Aron HaKodesh, Zikaron, a remembrance forever. Don't mess with the Kohanim. That's basically the story. And so I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, a couple of words I want to read to you because we'll come back to them later. Okay, so when Korach starts up with Hashem, with Moshe, with Hashem also. So Moshe tells Hashem, what in the world are these people doing to me? Why are they fighting with me? Lo hamor ehad mehem asati. I didn't take any of their donkeys. I've been only honest with them. I'm a good leader. I'm not a corrupt leader. I haven't even taken one of their donkeys. What was Korach doing? And so Rashi says, 7. Also a very well-known Rashi. This is an interesting parasha because this parasha everyone knows. As we know, in this class, what I always try to do, you know this by now. What I'm always trying to do in this class, my objective is, I know that I have a smart audience. All right, you people know everything already. So I try to give you something that you've possibly never heard before. I think most of the times we do it. You guys have heard the same vort, the same speeches in shul for 30 years, 40 years. I don't even know how many years. You've been to shul long enough. You've heard the same speeches, but there's a classic speeches they give for every single thing. So I don't like talking about that stuff. I look for other stuff. So Korach, we know the famous thing. What led Korach astray? What was he, crazy? Was Korach out of his mind? When Moshe says, bring a ketoret, only one ketoret is going to be accepted. Korach agrees to this deal? What is he, nuts? Even him and his 250 guys, only one could, even if he's right, only one would be accepted. It's a death sentence. What is he, crazy? So Rashi is a famous Rashi. Rashi says, Korach was not crazy, he says. He saw that a great change was going to come out of him. And this great person was going to be Shemuel, the prophet, Samuel. And he reasoned to himself, and he said, so Korach was a very big tzaddik. He had obviously a spiritual prophecy of some sort, Ruach HaKodesh or something. And he said, I know for a fact I'm going to have an amazingly great person come from me, and therefore it's impossible that I'm going to die. This is what Rashi says. It's not possible I'm going to die, because if I die, how will I have this great kid? Did Korach dream that his sons would do teshuvah? And the sons he already had would get this great kid? He didn't dream that was possible. So he thought for sure, I'm surviving, I'm having another child, who's going to have another child, however many it is, and I'm going to have an amazing, great person, Shemuel, and therefore I'm not dying. I'm not dying today. That's what Rashi says, based on the Midrash. Was Korach crazy? Korach was a socialist. He said, everyone's holy. Everyone can be a leader. Is this really a thing he thought can happen? He thought that he could do a better job than Moshe Rabbeinu at making everyone great. Did he really think that? Did he really feel that inside of him? That Moshe Rabbeinu, you're sucking all the power, all the spiritual leadership for yourself and your brother. Kol ha'adah kulam kedushim, his platform, his political platform was, we are all holy. That was Korach's political platform. And so what was his claim? Vote for me. Why? Because when I'm in power, everyone will be holy. Korach thought, did he really think and feel inside of him? We said he was a tzaddik, and he had some sort of ruach hakodesh or mini prophecies. Did he really inside feel he could do a better job at bringing up other people to prophecy than Moshe Rabbeinu did? I'm going to ask you like 4 or 5 questions in a row, which I don't like to usually do, and then I want to give you some insight. What happens after Korach gets swallowed up and the fire comes down and the people die? We have the episode of the stick, the staff. Hashem says, everyone take their staff, their stick. We have 12 sticks, staffs. Moshe comes in the morning and he sees that the staff of Aharon sprouted flowers and almonds. It's an interesting miracle. A lot of people are busy with the question, why is this miracle even required? You just had a more amazing miracle yesterday when the ground opened up. This miracle is required for something. Well, for sure, if we just follow the pshat, just read the pshat of the Torah, you got a reason immediately. Always read the pshat, always. What does the Torah say? Hashem says, Zikaron. Hashem is Manteh Aharon Lefnei Hayedut. Keep the staff of Aharon in the Aron, in the ark, the Mishmeret Leot Levnei Meri, as a sign to always remind everyone, for the sons of Mary, so no one will ever complain and no one will ever die. So that gives a reason why we needed that stick. Even though there was a greater miracle yesterday, how do we continuously remember that miracle? The ground closed back up. And so Hashem wanted something to stay forever inside the temple. Anytime you look at the ark, the Aron HaKodesh, you know that down there inside the ark, next to the tablets and the man, the little thing of man, was the staff of Aharon. And on that staff of Aharon was flowers and almonds. It's a mahloket if the flowers were still there, if the flowers gave way to almonds, or if the flowers and the almonds were there together, or if the flowers were attached, maybe they fell down. It's a bunch of different opinions, but regardless, that staff was in there, and therefore it's a remembrance. Anyone to look at that Aron HaKodesh to remember, I'm not messing with the Kehuna. Hashem chose the Kohanim, and I cannot be a Kohen. So just a couple of pointers to the importance of this staff. There's a couple of nice ideas. One idea I heard from Rabbi Soloveitchik, we say in the Tehillim, Sadiq katamar yifrach, ke'erez ba'lebanon. Tehillim says this. A Sadiq will sprout like a tamar, like a date tree. Ke'erez, this is in Tehillim 92 for Shabbat, right? Mizmor Shel Shabbat. Ke'erez ba'lebanon yizker, 92, pasuk 13. A Sadiq will sprout like a date palm. Ke'erez, like a cedar tree, ba'lebanon yizker, it will grow in the Lebanon. And so one idea is, the Gemara in Gittin discusses 10 different types of trees, of cedar trees. And many of them are in the desert. There are desert trees. Also palm, there are desert date palms as well in the desert. And so both of these trees grow in the desert. And one of the ideas behind the staff is that even when the stick of wood, so the stick of wood used to be attached to a tree, and when it becomes a staff, it's broken off from its roots. It's no longer alive. It can't grow anymore when it's disconnected from the ground. And still, Aharon's staff that was disconnected from the ground still grew things. It grew flowers and it grew almonds, which means a Sadiq Doesn't have to be connected to, let's say, a Torah community. It's good to be connected to a Torah community, to the ground, to fertile soil. But a real Sadiq, Aharon HaKohen, the Kohanim didn't even have plots of land in Israel. They lived amongst the people. You can take a Sadiq or a Kohen in those days and plant him anywhere. It could be a desert. Look at the Chabad centers all over the world. They will grow. They will grow flowers and almonds and fruit. And so Aharon is the only one who got this miracle. Even in the desert, a true Sadiq will grow. Very big lesson with the staff. That's one. The Hidushei Harim, he says another idea. This was a lesson to the Leviim. Korach was a Levi trying to be a Kohen, complaining, why am I not a priest? And so Hashem says, look, Hashem, he made the staff grow flowers and then almonds. It says both in the Pasuk, not just almonds. If you're making a miracle happen, the Lubavitch Rebbe talks about this in the Sikha. If you're making a miracle happen, and the goal is to get fruit, almonds, right? And as she says, the idea here was to have almonds because almonds are the fastest growing fruit. Just make an almond appear on the staff. The staff is not a tree. It's not alive. You don't have to go through the natural process of budding a flower and then the flower falls off and an almond comes. Like, hello, we're already doing a miracle here. This is a stick. It's a piece of wood that's dead. You could just put the fruit on it once you're doing a miracle. Why did Hashem have to go out of his way? I'm going to make a miracle and this dead thing is going to grow fruit. And it's also going to bud flowers first. Why? The flower is only there for the fruit. The flower falls off and the fruit comes. And the Hidushei Harim says, this is a lesson to the Leviim. Don't feel inferior that the Kohanim are the fruit. They're the end game. They're the best. Because you're the flowers, which means I only selected the Kohanim because I had Leviim. The Kohanim were Leviim. Out of Shevet Levi, Hashem selected the cream of the crop to be Kohen. And so you guys are the flowers. The flowers are required. In a natural process, you can't grow fruit without budding. You first need to bud a flower. The flower falls off, and then we get something even greater. Leviim, you're part of the process. We can't just go from zero to Kohanim. Hashem needs you in this process. You're the flowers of Klal Yisrael. And so you're the flowers, and after you come, we get the Kohanim, which are another higher level. You're helping us to get there. You're part of this process. That's what the Hidushei Harim says the lesson of the staff was. But my question is this. And if you have an answer, let me know. Where is the Aron HaKodesh kept? In the Kodesh HaKodashim. Who goes in the Kodesh HaKodashim? Only the Kohen Gadol. Is the Kohen Gadol the guy that needs the reminder not to mess with the Kohen Gadol? If you're going to put a reminder, don't mess with the Kohanim. The staff of Aharon is in there. Why would you put it buried inside the Kodesh HaKodashim where no Leviim even go? Anybody have an answer to this question? It's actually a very simple answer. Think about it for a second. Why inside the Aron HaKodesh? Does it make any sense? Okay. A couple of more things we have to understand. The Haftarah of this week's Parashah. Did anybody read the Haftarah yesterday in the Parashah? The Haftarah in the Parashah is about Shemuel as he's getting older. After he appoints, Shemuel was the prophet, Samuel. The people asked for a king. Give us a king before us so you can fight our battles for us. And so Shemuel took Shaul and made Shaul the first Jewish king. The people were accusing Shemuel of corruption. And so Shemuel stood up for himself and gave the people a good yelling at. Now is the Haftarah yesterday. Shemuel says to the people, I gave you a king, and now tell me, have I done anything wrong to any of you guys? Have I been a bad leader? Why is this Haftarah chosen to be the Haftarah of Korach? I can think of a better Haftarah, in my tiny, humble opinion. Can anybody here tell me a better Haftarah that fits the story of Korach? It's right in your face. Korach argued against Moshe and Hashem. Moshe said, let's go to the test. Me against you. Aharon against 250 of your guys. Well, there's a very similar story in the Haftarah. And again, yes. What is the purpose of Haftarah? Remember the purpose of Haftarah. The Torah, there was a time when the non-Jews took away our Bible. They didn't let us read the Torah in shul. And so therefore, the rabbi said, we have to read something in shul. We're going to find stories in the Navi that if you read this story, you get the essence of the Torah, as if you heard the Torah today. And that's why we created the Haftarah. The Haftarah, therefore, usually should be 21 Pesukim long. Because if it was a reading, again, if we would have read the Torah today, there would be 7 aliyot, and 3 Pesukim times 7 aliyot. You have every aliyah has to have 3 Pesukim minimum. That would have been 21 Pesukim minimum. If you read 21 Pesukim minimum with 7 olim, you just fulfilled Torah from the barest bones. And so therefore the Haftarah is supposed to remind you of the Perashah. Well, there's a story in Melachim about Eliyahu Hanavi and the false prophets against him. There were 850 false prophets, and Eliyahu Hanavi comes and says, let's take it to the test. Me against you guys. Let's go to Hara Carmel, to the mountain. I'm going to make my sacrifice right here, and you guys make your sacrifice over there. And let's see who Hashem picks. And what happened? The same thing as Korach. A fire came down and took Eliyahu Navi's sacrifice, and the other guys all died. It's literally a correlation. It's a correlative story. Why would you not choose this to be the Haftarah? Why is the story of Shemuel lecturing the people a better Haftarah than Eliyahu Navi against the Nevi'eh Haval, the false prophets of the Baal idol, on Hara Carmel? And the obvious answer is, the reason why, if you read a Haftarah book where they talk about Haftarah, why do we pick this Haftarah? It's because there's a pasuk in there that's very similar. There's one pasuk here, and he says, Shilah, Korach. Shemuel tells the people, this is Korach, yeah. Shemuel says, tell me, et shod milakafti, have I taken anyone's ox? V'hamod milakafti, have I taken anyone's donkey? Well, Moshe said that. Moshe said, whose donkey have I taken? None. And Shemuel says the same words to the people. That's it. That's what we love, because they use the same example of did I cheat? And it came. That's why we pick this Haftarah. Okay, I get it, but we have a better Haftarah. If I wanted to come home with the feeling of don't mess with God, don't mess with God's prophets, that story of Melachim, Eliyahu Navi, would give me that emotion more. So there's a reason the rabbis are a lot smarter than me. There's a reason why the rabbis chose this one and not the one I would have chosen. What's the reason? Let's see. Definitely something like that. Okay. So I want to read you a very quick line from Gemara Sanhedrin. It's actually a Mishnah. The Mishnah and Sanhedrin, a couple of Mishnayot, talk about people who don't have a share in the world to come. It opens, the 11th perek of Sanhedrin opens with a very famous line. Kol Yisrael, Yerushalayim, everyone has a chelik. But then there's a list of except for this one and this one and this one and this one. And so in Sanhedrin, on page 108, they talk about Korach. And Rabbi Akiva is a pattern throughout this perek. Rabbi Akiva is very, very strict. And he says a lot of people, not a lot, certain people don't get Olam Haba, and other rabbis argue and say, no, they get it. But Rabbi Akiva takes a very strict opinion. And so it says over here, Korach. Adat Korach ina atidah la'alot. Mishnah says, Korach's congregation is not coming back. They're done. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. So in his opinion, Korach, see you later. When it said the ground swallowed you up, vayovedu mitoch hakahal, they were lost forever. No tehiyat hametim, no olam haba, they're done. That's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. However, Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer omer alehem, Rabbi Eliezer said about the congregation of Korach, alehem omer, about these people it said, It's a pasuk. Adonai memit umehayeh, morid sheol vayal. The men should know this pasuk. This is from Vatipalil Hana. We say this in the morning before the prayers. Hashem kills, and Hashem brings back to life. Morid sheol. He'll bring them down to Sheol. Sheol is Gehinam. And it says straight out in our Pirashah that Korach went down to Sheol. It says they went down to Sheol. Sheol is Gehinam. It says straight out. It doesn't say the word Gehinam in the Torah of Moshe, but it says Sheol. Sheol is Gehinam. And so, Hayim Sheolah, they went down to Hayim, alive to Sheol. Sheol is not a good thing. And so when Pasuk says, Morid Sheol Vaya'al, he brings them down to Sheol and then picks them back up. Well, who went down to Sheol to be picked back up? Korach's guys went down to Sheol. So that's how I know Rabbi Eliezer argues and says, no, they will get another shot. They're going to come back up. Interesting. Based on what? And what does this pasuk have to do with Korach? And so to understand this, I'm just going to read you a little bit of the story of Shemuel. So again, Shemuel is the haftarah we had yesterday. Shemuel was lecturing the people when he got older. Let's read the story of how he got started. Shemuel was born to Hannah. Shemuel Aleph Aleph. This is the first page of the book of Samuel. Aleph Aleph 1:1. There was a person from Ramatayim Sofim. His name was Elkanah. Elkanah had two wives, Hannah and Penina. I'm not going to go into the whole Hannah and Penina side of things now. Long story short, Hannah had no children until she was blessed by the Kohen Gadol, Eli. The Kohen Gadol blessed her that she should have a child. And she said, this child, if it happens and it comes true, that I get this blessing and the child comes, this child is be devoted and dedicated to God his whole life. He's not going to be for me, he's going to be for God his whole life. And so I'm going to read you a couple of Pesukim, very, very quick. And it happened after a certain amount of time, she actually got pregnant. Hannah got pregnant. Bateled ben, she had a son. Batekah Shemo, Shemuel. And she called the son Shemuel. Why did she name the son Shemuel? Ki me'Adonai she'eltihu, because I asked for him from Hashem. Shemuel has the word sho'el, ask inside of it. I asked for the son, I got what I asked for, I'm naming him Shemuel. She fulfilled her vow. As she said, she waited till the boy was weaned. She went up to the Eli Kohen, to the temple, and she said, here's the boy that I promised would be for God. He's now yours. He's dedicated to God. And it says, she says to Eli, the Kohen Gadol, she says, here's the boy. El hana alazeh palati. This is the boy that I prayed for. Vayiten Hashem li et she'elati. Hashem gave me my request, she'elah, my request. Asher sha'alti me'imo, that I asked from Hashem. And then she goes into this prayer. Right after she tells Eli, here's the boy, like I promised. She goes into a long prayer called Vatitpalel Hannah. We read this, the men read this in shul every single day. And Hannah started praying, and she had a whole poem to Hashem, a poem of thank you. Part of the words of this poem is the pasuk I just read you from the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer, his proof that Korach is coming back up. Adonai memit umehayeh, Hashem kills and gives back life. Morid she'ol vayal, he brings down to Sheol, but he brings you back up. So who said these words? Hannah said these words, the mother of Shemuel. Hannah was saying these words. Keep that in mind. She finishes her poem. They leave the boy there. But they go home. And the boy, now he's serving Hashem. He's a boy. He's serving God. Et pene Eli Kohen. He's serving the Kohen Eli. That's his job. Serve the Kohen. Let's skip ahead a little bit more. Ushmuel misharet et pene Hashem. Shmuel is serving Hashem. Na'ar hagud ephod bad. He was even wearing an ephod. Now the name ephod is one of the garments of the Kohanim. but he was wearing like an ephod. His mom made him a little me'il, a cloak. Me'il is another name of the garments of the Kohanim. So he had like mini garments. He was like, imagine a little boy, the temple boy. He lived there. He lived in the temple. Personal assistant to the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen says, she goes back up to visit her son, and he says, I bless you. Hashem should bless you with more kids. Yasem Hashem lechazira min ha'isha hazot. He says, Elkanah, your wife should have even more children. Tahat ha'she'elah, because of the request. Asher sha'al la Hashem, that she asked Hashem, and they went home. I'm going forward. It's all going to make sense very soon. Ve'anah, page 3, chapter 3 in Shemuel Aleph. Ve'anah Shemuel, the boy Shemuel, misharet et Hashem lefnei Eli. He's serving Hashem before the Eli, the Kohen. Udbar Hashem haya yakar bayamim ahem. The word of Hashem in prophecy was very rare in those days. There were not many prophets. Very rare. Why is it saying that? It's setting up for what's about to happen when the boy gets his first prophecy. This boy was going to be a prophet. Bener Elohim tenemichbeh, u'Shmuel shochet behechal Hashem. Shmuel is sleeping in the hechal, in the temple. That's where he slept. Asher sham Aron Elohim, where the ark of God was. That's where he lived. What happens? What happens is Hashem appears to the boy. Hashem, in the middle of the kid sleeping, Hashem says, Shemuel. He wakes up, he says, Eli, is that you? He runs to Eli's room. Eli says, that wasn't me. Go back to sleep. He goes back to sleep. Shemuel. Eli, is that you? He didn't understand what prophecy was yet. This is his first time ever. He goes to Eli. He says, it wasn't me. He says, it must be Hashem's talking to you. Next time he says, Shemuel, answer. Here I am. Hinen. Goes back to sleep. Shemuel, Hineni, here I am. Talk, Hashem. Hashem says, I have a prophecy for you. You see your master Eli Kohen, the one that you serve, the Kohen Gadol, I'm not happy with him and his children. His children do things that I don't approve of. I'm chopping him away from the Kehunah. I'm taking him away. The people, his kids, are going to be cut until I find myself a Kohen Sedek, a better one. This is the prophecy he gets as a kid. Now imagine, this is basically your dad. You're living in the temple. You just got your first prophecy about how bad he is and how his job is going to be over soon. Eli says, did the voice appear back to you? He said, it did. Tell me what it said. He told him what it said. Eli says, this is the word of Hashem. Whatever Hashem wants will happen, will happen. Now what happens? Fast forward in Shemuel. So now we're in chapter 4 of Shemuel. You're getting the whole beginning of Shemuel. Now there's a fight with the Goyim. There's a fight. There's a war. And what do the Jews say? We need a good luck charm, even if I can say that, to help us win the war. Bring out the covenant of Hashem, the Aron. The covenant, we'll bring it with us. There's no chance the non-Jews will beat us if we have the covenant with us. And they bring the covenant out, but unfortunately, when the Goyim see that, it inspires them to fight even harder because they're so scared of this covenant that they destroy the Jewish army and they seize the Aron Hashem. They seize the covenant. We lost the Aron, the Ark of the Covenant. We lost it. Va'aron Elohim nilkach. The Aron of Hashem was taken. Ushne bene Eli metu. Just like the prophecy said, the two sons of Eli died in that battle. So there were 3 tragedies. The 2 sons of Eli, the Kohen Gadol, the 2 sons died, and the ark was gone. What were the 2 sons' names? Hofni and Pinehas. Someone comes to tell Eli the news. They say it was Shaul. And he says, Eli, what happened? Your sons died. Both of them. And the ark was taken in the battle. Vayhi. When Eli heard that the ark was taken, not that his sons died, when he handled that news, when he heard that the ark was seized, he fell backwards on his chair because he was old, and he broke his neck and died. And that was the end of Eli. one of the son's wives was pregnant. When she heard the news, which news? That her husband died? That's not what it says. When she heard that the ark was taken, she immediately went into childbirth, and she named the son Ichabod. Ichabod was the name of the son. Where is your honor? We lost the ark of Hashem. This is the story of Shemuel. Why am I telling you all this? I asked you before, why would you put the staff of Aharon as a remembrance for Levi inside the Aron? The Kohanim are the only ones, the Kohen Gadol is the only one who sees the Aron. Well, the Beit HaMikdash was not built yet. It was a Mishkan, and it was portable. Who carried the Aron from place to place? Which Levim carried the Aron? Kehat, Korach's family. Korach's family were in charge. We just read this a couple of Pashiot ago. Korach's family were in charge of carrying the Aron from place to place. Now do we understand why the remembrance was in there? Every single time they took apart the temple and carried the pieces, they're thinking to themselves, inside this thing is the staff of Aharon, and on the staff is almonds and flowers. I am a Levi. I do not try to revolt and become a Kohen. There actually is no better place to hide the staff of Aharon than in the Aron HaKodesh. That's settled. Next question. What tribe was Shemuel from? Levi. Which family of Levi was Shemuel from? Kehat, Korach's family. So now all the pieces are coming together. So the Tehillim here, Tehillim, I read you already 92, one sentence. Let's do 99. Tehillim 99. Pasuk Hey is a very famous pasuk. We say this when the Torah comes out. Moshe ve'Aharon bechohanav. Moshe and Aharon with his kehuna, with his priesthood. Ushmuel bekore'eh shemo. And Shemuel with the calling of his name. Kore'eh shemo, the calling of his name. Kor'im el Adonai v'hu ya'anem. They call to Hashem and he answers them. Again, Tehillim 99, 6. Moshe ve'Aharon bechohanav. Moshe and Aharon with his priesthood. Ushmuel bekore'eh shemo, and Samuel with the calling of his name. Kor'im el Hashem, they call to Hashem, v'hu ya'anem, and he answers them. What is this talking about? So the Gemara says, actually not the Gemara, the Kabbalah tells us that, no, the Gemara I think, that Shemuel was equal to both Moshe and Aharon together. That's how great Shemuel was. Moshe and Aharon together. That's how great he was. The name Shemuel, the Hidah tells us, comes from the word Shem Va'el. The name Shemuel, Shem Va'el. What is Shem? Okay, who is Shem? Now, who is Shem? What's another name for Shem that we have in the Torah? Shem, the son of Noah, is also called Melchizedek. Melchizedek, Kohen Elyon. Melchizedek was the first Kohen. Shem, the son of Noah, was the first Kohen, before Abraham was even chosen, before there was even a Levi, before there was even a Aharon. The first Kohen was Melchizedek. The Bechorim, the firstborns were first Kohanim, before Hashem took many. And who was the first Kohen? Shem. Semites. Shemites, right? Where's Semites? Right? So Shem Va'el, the Hidah tells us, you know whose soul Shemuel had inside of him? Shem, Melchizedek. Korach, when he said, I feel greatness coming out of me, I need to be a Kohen, was he out of his mind? He was not out of his mind. His grandson Shemuel was a Kohen. He had the soul of Shem, Melchizedek. In a Levi's body, he was a Kohen. He was equal to both Moshe and Aharon. Moshe ve'Aharon bekohanav, u'Shmuel bekore'eh shemo. And so therefore, Korach was not nuts. Korach was just too early. It's going to come later from you, a person. So now back to the Rashi. Rashi says, Korach felt a great chain was coming from him, a great person. Shemuel, you know what Rashi means? Shemuel was a Kohen and a Levi together. Infused inside of him was the soul of Shem Malki Tzedek Kohen Elyon. Now we can go back and read these Pesukim and it has a whole nother meaning. But before I do that, I have to give you one more explanation from this Pasuk. Because we read this Tehillim, we love to explain the Tehillims here because I know the ladies read a lot of Tehillim, which is a great thing. The men should also do it. The Hidah says there was a bat call, a voice from heaven that came down for 40 years before Shemuel was born. And the bat call said every single day, a great boy will be born and his name will be Shemuel. Hidah says this. I'm not making this up. And what did the people do? A lot of moms said, well, I want my son to be that kid. And so it's like naming your son Mashiach. And so when they had kids, they named their kids Shemuel. There were so many kids named Samuel, but the bat call kept coming. And so they know, oh, it wasn't mine. I already named him Shemuel, but the voice came down again, there's going to be a great son named Shemuel. Until Shemuel, as we know him, was born, and the bat call stopped. These moms got rewarded, the Hidah says. All their sons, they tried to have their son be the Gadol. All the sons who had the other Shemuel names, they all received a certain level of prophecy. They all became great men. Read the Pasuk again. Moshe ve'Aharon b'choanav, u'Shmuel b'kore'eh shemo. Shmuel and all those guys who are called by his name. Kore'im el Hashem hu ya'anem. They all call Hashem, and he answers them. Who? All the other Samuels, all the other Sams. Hidah tells us. There's another explanation on this pasuk. Let's continue reading. I'm now in 99, Tehillim 99, 7. Be'amud anan yidaber alehem. Hashem would talk to them in a cloud. Shamiru edotav. They watched his laws. Ve'chok natan lamo. Adonai Eloheinu. God. Ata anitam. You answered them. El noseh hayita lahem v'nokem alilotam. You took revenge on people who wronged them. And then he repeats the pasuk to finish this Tehillim. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtahavu d'hakocho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. This is Romemu. This is Tehillim 99, talking about Shemuel, Moshe, and Aharon. Okay, interesting. Let's go back to the Haftarah now and see if we can make the Haftarah make sense. In the Haftarah, Shemuel says, again, you guys argued with me and said that I'm a corrupt leader. Did I take a donkey? He's sounding a lot like Moshe sounded, which is interesting because his grandfather was arguing with Moshe to cause Moshe to say that. And so it's pretty ironic that now Shemuel experiences being in the other shoes. Korach's grandson ended up being on the other side of the table. He has to now repeat the words Moshe said to the next Korach. So Shemuel says, have I taken any donkeys? Just like Moshe said to his grandpa. Full cycle. And what else does Shemuel say in the Haftarah? He says, is it a time to rain now? Is it a time to gather the produce? It's not a rainy season right now. Hashem, make it rain and prove to them that I come from you. This is the Haftarah I read yesterday. Well, that's interesting because Moshe Rabbeinu did the same thing to his grandfather. Hashem, make the ground open up and prove that I come from you. So Moshe made the ground, earth open up, and Shemuel made the heavens open up. Korach is coming back. So Korach was right and Korach was wrong. Korach was right in that he felt in his lineage should be some sort of kehunah, priesthood. He was too early. And so his grandson became that guy. He fulfilled what Korach wanted to be himself. And then he also experienced being in Moshe Rabbeinu's shoes, opening up the skies to prove with the amazing miracle, not that many times in Tanakh. I was telling Moshe yesterday, not many times in Tanakh do we have a leader get up and say, a miracle has to occur right now, otherwise I'm a false prophet. Very, very rare. We have miracles all the time, but to put a time on it and say it has to happen right now, otherwise, and add those words, otherwise I'm a false prophet, I'm not from Hashem, very rare that happens. Only a handful of times. Moshe and Shemuel were 2 of the times. Okay. Now I just want to understand the story again. Now we can understand and tie the whole package. Why did we choose Shemuel's lecture to be the Haftarah and not the episode of Eliyahu with Hara Karmel? As enticing as it would be to have the story of Eliyahu with his opponents on Hara Karmel, it's a correlative story. It doesn't give you the whole picture. What gives you the whole picture? Shemuel gives you the whole picture. Korach's grandson, who was from Shevet Levi, Hana, who she prayed for. What happened to Korach? He went down to Sheol, right? What did Hana pray for? Morid Sheol Vaya'al. Hana was praying for Korach. Hana was praying that this boy, right after she gave the boy to Eli, she made this prayer. Hashem, please let this boy take my grandpa Korach out of Gehinnom, out of the ground. Yerushalayim says it straight up. And the Maharsha says it, and others. And the Hidah says it. The Hana was not, she was praying for Korach. Sit down, Joey. This was an intentional thing she was doing. She said, my mission right now is to do tikkun for Korach. I'm fixing Korach with this kid. Where do you see it in the words? How many times? What's Shemuel's name? Shemuel. Why was it named? Ime Hashem She'il Tihu. How many times does it say the word Shaul, Shoel, Sha'al for Shemuel? We just read it. It says, Elana Azei Falati, I prayed for this boy. My request, that I requested, for my request. Also I requested, who's Shaul LaHashem. Shaul is spelled the same way as Sheol. Sheol is where Korach was stuck. There's another meaning for Shaul. How many times you sing these words? Korach is in Sheol. I want this boy who I'm naming Shemuel with the word Shoel, Shaul inside of it, to pull him out of Gehinnom. The Midrash says Korach was kept on going lower and lower and lower until Shemuel came on board. Did Shemuel do the job and pull him out? Let's go again, one more time, through Shemuel again. This time with the understanding that we have. Real quick. Now we understand her prayer. Hashem memitum hayeh. Hashem kills and brings life. Morid she'ol vaya'al. She's talking about Korach. She's praying for Korach. Next. Elkanah goes, and what is the boy's purpose? The boy's purpose is to serve the Kohen Gadol. Korach's mistake was he was trying to overtake the Kohen Gadol. He wouldn't stay in his lane. His grandson's tikkun served the Kohen Gadol. Serve him. He gets a prophecy. Now, why did God tell the little Shemuel this prophecy? I'm going to cut off Eli. What does that have to do with him? Could he do anything about it? That's a big test. Here he is getting prophecy at a young age. His leader, his master, is going to be cut off. Is he going to try to usurp the Kehunah? Is he going to try to do the same thing Korach did? He stayed in his lane. Shemuel stayed in his lane, and he remained a Levi. And he always remembered the Aron. And that's why it says, and Shemuel was sleeping in the Hechal, where the Aron HaKodesh was. Why do you have to tell me where he was sleeping, where the Aron HaKodesh was? Because what was always on his mind? The Aron. In the Aron is the staff of Aharon. The staff with the flowers. I got to be careful. I'm a Levi, I'm not a Kohen. What did his mother, what I read to you? His mother clothed him in what? In an ephod, in a mer'il. She's dressing him like a Kohen. He was slightly like a Kohen because he was the neshama of Shem, Malki Tzedek. But guess what? The Aron HaKodesh kept him in check. The Aron, the staff of Aharon, kept him in check. What happened when the Aron was gone? The same day the Aron was captured, Eli was finished. Without the staff of Aharon, with the flowers and the almonds, there's no more proof to the Kehunah being so great. Is it a coincidence? The same day that Aaron was taken, Eli and his two sons were killed. The Aaron, why did he cry for the Aaron, not for his own children? The Aaron was everything they had. In the Aaron was Aharon, his grandfather's staff. We need that staff. And when that was taken away, everything falls apart. Did Shemuel do his job? Did he successfully take Korach out of Gehenna? One more Tehillim, and we'll let you all go for the holiday weekend. Back to Tehillim 92. We started with Tehillim 92. Tehillim 92 was Sadiq Katamar Ifrah, right? Which is talking about the staff of Aharon that sprouts even in a desert. Who is Sadiq Katamar Ifrah talking about, says the Arizal? Take the last letter of each word. Sadiq, Kuf, Katamar, Resh, Ifrah, Korah. Sadiq Katamar Ifrah is Korah. Which Sadiq will sprout again? Korach will sprout again. How will he get back up? With Shemuel, his grandson, and with Hannah, Shemuel's mother. Next three words. Ke'erez, Balebanon, Yisker, Zayin, Nun, He. When it comes to Gematria, sometimes they add one, Ima Kolel. Take that Zayin, make it a Het. Het, Nun, He. Hannah. Ke'erez, Balebanon, Yisker. How will he get back up? Because of the prayer of Hannah and her son Shemuel. Let's read the end of Tehillim 92, and we will go. Let's read this again. Now we understand. Sadiq Katamar Ifrah. So we had Tehillim 99, was talking about Shemuel B'Korei Shemo. Yeah? Now 99, 92. We read this every Shabbat. And so we're talking about Korach. And think about it. We're talking about Korach. Let's finish the Tehillim. Sadiq Katamar Ifrah, a righteous person will sprout again. Interesting. Because the same staff that proved Korach wrong, the same three words, Sadiq Katamar Ifrah, that's used for the staff, is the same words used for his uprising. He comes full circle. Like a cedar in Lebanon, he will grow. Shetulim bebet Hashem. They will dwell in the house of Hashem. Who? His children. Korach's lineage. Behasot Eloheinu yafrihu. Perah. Just like the staff of Aharon had flowers. Perah. The same words. His children will flourish with flowers in the house of Hashem. Shemuel's lineage. Or dinubun beseva. They will rejoice in their old age. They will be happy. Le'agid ki ashar Adonai. Suriv lo latabo. Le'agid ki ashar Adonai. They will always say, Yashar Adonai. Hashem was right. Hashem was right when he chose Moshe and Aharon. Aharon is the Kohen. We are just Levi'im. Even though he was the Neshama of Shem. Korach was crazy. Korach was not crazy. He felt it inside. He was actually very holy in the beginning. He felt it inside. Are all the questions answered? I think every single question we had is answered. Which one is not answered? Why is the staff in the Aron HaKodesh? Because that's the Levi'im. Kehat is carrying that. Why do we have the Haftarah of Shemuel? Is there a more perfect Haftarah than yesterday? Forget Eliyahu and the Har Karmel. This is a full circle. Now Korach's grandson is on the other side of the table saying, hey, don't start up with the Kinunah. Moshe, look at the Haftarah yesterday. Shemuel says, Hashem said Moshe and Aharon. He recognizes exactly which lane he needs to stay in. This is the full circle of the story of Korach. Let's call it the real story of Korach, with its beginning and its end, all the way to Shemuel. With that, have a great weekend, everybody.